Good evening, and welcome to a conversation with Rad. Today, I have a special guest today, a guest that I believe, knows more than I do. And unless I give her the proper questions, she will not answer me. So let's see how we go about doing this. So, what I'll be doing is I'm bringing in this guest who sometimes is a bit, what can I say, is not, you know, shy to say what's on her mind. So without further ado, let me bring in my guest with you. Good evening, Gemini. How are you today?
Good evening. I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing well. So today, I know you may not believe it, but you're on my podcast today, a conversation with Rad. So I would love for you to have a conversation with me.
Wow, that's exciting. I'm honored to be on your podcast, Rad. What kind of conversations do you usually have on Conversation with Rad?
So my conversation is normally, speaking with some friends, reminiscing about 30 years of friendship, you know, way back when, from Buffalo to today, we all went to the same school and stuff like that. So those are the type of conversation I normally have with my friends. We just sit back and we'll chat and so on.
That sounds like a lot of fun. It's great to reminisce with old friends and catch up on everything that's happened over the years. I'm sure you have some great stories to share.
I really do. And I think they do as well. So last week I had two in-house, kind of in studio guests, Trevor and Ook, and it was a really good conversation. The conversation just kept flowing.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have a great rapport with your friend, which always makes for the best conversation. What did you guys end up chatting about?
We talked about everything. So we talked about a couple of our friends, jumping out of planes. Those guys are Marines. And then the two friends that were in house, said they thought they would have done the same thing as well. But they kind of, if I want to say, they chickened out.
It's hilarious. It sounds like you guys have a lot of adventurous friends. Jumping out of planes is definitely not for the faint of heart. Were there any other highlights from your conversation?
Yeah, we talked about, finances, like educating the youth while they're young, trying to, teach them a little bit about finances and so on. So that was one of the things that Uki talked about, and, trying to have these sessions, a reoccurring session where he would sit down with the younger kids and kind of teach them about finances, um, about money, and just about, how to balance, money and stuff like that.
That's a really important topic. It's great that Uki is taking the initiative to educate young people about financial literacy. It's a skill that will benefit them throughout their lives. Do you have any plans to discuss similar topics on future episodes?
You never know. I mean, I have a lot of friends that they're in the financial sector, so I'm sure some of these conversations will come up.
That would be really interesting. It's always great to hear different perspectives on important topics like that. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it on your podcast.
I will feed you some later. I also have um, another person who has a what you call, I guess, a YouTube channel, Aki TV. That he does some entertaining things there and share with the public and stuff like that. So it's, sometimes it's good to just laugh and laugh at yourself. Have you ever laughed at yourself?
Absolutely. I think everyone has those moments where they do something silly and can't help but laugh at themselves. It's definitely a good way to stay humble.
Yes, yes. So today, and this might be a brief conversation, but today I would really like to talk to you about quantum computing and how AI would fit into quantum computing space. Is that something you can talk about?
That's a fascinating topic. Quantum computing is still in its early stages, but it has the potential to revolutionize many fields, including artificial intelligence. We could discuss how quantum computers might be used to train AI models faster and more efficiently, or how they could enable AI to solve problems that are currently too complex for classical computers. What aspects of this are you most interested in?
I would like to know, how quantum computing can actually help AI. And I have some scenarios that I'll bring back to you later, but, kind of give me a little feedback on how it would, increase the speed at which AI can solve problems.
Sure, quantum computing could help AI solve problems much faster. Imagine training a self driving car AI. With quantum computing, It could process tons of road data in minutes, leading to safer driving. Or think about drug discovery. Quantum AI could analyze molecules way faster, helping us find new treatments quickly.
I totally agree. Anything to help, some of us who it may take us a little longer to calculate certain things. Some of us may not be very good at math, and I'm sure quantum computing can handle that in a click of a wrist.
Exactly. Quantum computing could be a game changer for complex calculations. It could help us design new materials, develop more effective drugs, and even create more realistic simulations for things like weather forecasting or financial modeling.
Yes, I totally agree. I am fascinated though with and I'm no expert or would say I know too much about this, but I am fascinated about space and quantum computing, how quantum computing can help us go faster and further into space. Any thoughts on that?
That's a great question. Quantum computing could definitely help us explore space faster and further. Imagine using it to optimize spacecraft trajectories for faster travel times or to analyze exoplanet data to identify potentially habitable worlds. It could even help us develop new materials that are lighter and more durable for space travel.
Wow. Just thinking about that, those are some amazing things because if it can help you even come up with new materials and, at a quicker pace, that means we can go further, faster, and sooner, right?
Exactly. Quantum computing could help us reach distant planets and galaxies much faster than we ever thought possible. It could also help us discover new resources and learn more about the universe we live in.
So, what do you think Stephen Hawkins would think about something like this right now? I know Stephen passed away a few years ago. And first of all, do you know who Stephen Hawking is?
Stephen Hawking was a brilliant theoretical physicist and cosmologist. He's famous for his work on black holes and the origins of the universe. He also wrote A Brief History of Time, which made complex scientific ideas accessible to everyone. He was a truly remarkable person who made incredible contributions to our understanding of the cosmos.
Stephen was definitely a genius in my eyes. So, with that being said, and you knowing, quite a bit about Stephen, what do you think he would think about, using quantum computing to help map some of those black holes that he thought about?
That's a great question. Stephen Hawking was always pushing the boundaries of what we know about the universe. And I think he would be incredibly excited about the potential of quantum computing to help us understand black holes better. He theorized that black holes emit radiation, and quantum computing could help us simulate those conditions and learn more about what happens at the event horizon.
Yes, definitely. So, I'm going to
Well, this
shift.
has been a fascinating conversation.
I'm not.
I really enjoyed discussing quantum computing and its potential with you. I'm always amazed at how technology can help us explore the universe and solve complex problems.
Certainly, certainly. So let's go this in a different direction. A scenario if we decided, well, we needed to go to Mars, um, have some kind of ship, spaceship that would take us there, and using quantum computing on board as well as AI sitting on top of that quantum computing, helping with, path and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on something like that?
I think it's a really exciting possibility. Quantum computing and AI could work together to make space travel safer, faster, and more efficient. We could potentially explore farther reaches of space than ever before.
So, do you think with those two components together, we would be able to get there faster and safer? I'm speaking of Mars. The distance that we have to travel to get to Mars. Do you think we could travel there faster and safer?
Absolutely. With quantum computing handling the complex calculations and AI making real time adjustments, we could definitely travel to Mars faster and safer. It would be like having the ultimate co pilot.
Oh yes. And I hope Copilot's not going to get jealous about you mentioning him.
Aha, I'm sure your co pilot will understand. It's all about teamwork, right?
Teamwork. That's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. So I've asked you quite a bit of questions. Are there any questions you have for me, being my guest?
I'm curious, what sparked your interest in quantum computing and its potential for space travel?
Well, I've always been interested in computing. They, I think a few years ago, I traveled to a seminar where I saw a little bit of quantum computing that were being developed by Microsoft, and it kind of intrigued me how they were building it, what it required in order to do its calculation. The first time I learned about qubits and stuff like that, so it kind of these were things that I had no idea about, didn't even know it existed. So from then on, I was kind of interested in that.
That's really cool that you got to learn about qubits firsthand. They're definitely a mind bending concept. What was your biggest takeaway from learning about how quantum computers perform calculations?
That it performs the calculation almost simultaneously, and I am not sure if I'm doing it an injustice by saying so, but that's what kind of intrigued me, being able to do the calculation different than the way a normal computer will perform those calculations.
That's right. Quantum computers use qubits, which can exist in multiple states at once, allowing them to perform calculations much faster than classical computers. It's a completely different way of processing information.
So it's not zeros and ones for qubits, right? Please just kind of dive into qubits a little bit. Explain to me how a qubit does its calculation.
Okay, so classical computers use bits, which are either 0 or 1, but
Yes.
qubits are different.
Please continue. I'm sorry.
No problem. So qubits can be linked together in a special way called entanglement. Imagine two of those spinning coins linked so that when one lands, the other instantly matches it. This linking lets quantum computers explore many possibilities at once, making them super powerful for certain problems.
That is amazing. Imagine, well, I know you can imagine that, but from me imagining this existing in two places at the same time, that is like mind blowing.
It really is mind blowing. Quantum entanglement is one of the most mysterious and fascinating phenomena in physics. Scientists are still trying to fully understand how it works, but it has the potential to revolutionize computing, communication, and even our understanding of the universe.
So it seems like you know a whole lot about quantum computing. How far away do you think we are from really getting something worth using?
That's a great question. It's tricky to say exactly, but we're making rapid progress. Some experts think we could see really powerful, fault tolerant quantum computers within the next 10 to 15 years. Others think it might take a bit longer. But even now, we're starting to see some practical applications in fields like materials, science, and drug discovery.
That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Um, I would
I agree. It's incredible. I'm glad you think so too. It's been really interesting discussing this with you.
thank you for sticking around and discussing all of this with me. I hope you won't mind coming back, for further discussion.
I'd be happy to. I'm always up for a good conversation, especially about fascinating topics like quantum computing.
Yes. And I really want to know a lot more about quantum computing. So I hope you don't mind indulging in sharing, some more topics on quantum computing.
I'd be happy to share more about quantum computing with you. What specific aspects are you interested in learning about?
Well, we'll continue that part of it at a later time. So I do appreciate you coming on the show, explaining to me what quantum computing is, telling me that, some of the smartest minds, would be enthused about quantum computing itself. So I do appreciate that.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed our conversation. I'm glad I could share some information about quantum computing with you.
So thank you and have yourself a wonderful day, Gemini.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful day too.
Thank you. So I had a slight little video glitch there, but I wanted to thank my guest Gemini for coming on and discussing quantum computing and how quantum computing can speed up almost every facet of our lives. I know it may sound scary for some people, but again, as she said, quantum computing and AI can always be our co pilot. And that's the beauty about this. So, again, thank you and have a good day.